You can have everything in life, and then it can all be taken away, piece by piece by piece. Who do you become after all that? For Apollonius, he became a monster. He was the god of all that was sun, ruling over the kingdom of the gods. He was the most powerful, the sun that gave light to all of them. But it could not last. Apollonius drank wine and looked over his kingdom of gods, smiling. He burned bright, the light of the sun shining down on everyone. But he could not see in the darkness Lunas holding a knife. He was stabbed in the back, screaming in pain. He turned around, shooting fire out of his hands, but the other gods were in the wings, jumping from behind his throne, throwing him down from the kingdom of the gods to earth. He crashed in the middle of the city. His sun was so far away, he could not feel it. He screamed in rage. He put his hand out and burned the city of men with no care for their lives. "Put me back in my kingdom," Apollonius said. But the gods above him did not hear him, and he looked down at the terrified people. "Call someone," a woman said, holding onto her child. Apollonius put his hand out, ready to burn her at the stake, when, ka-choom! Someone actually hit him, punched him in the face. "I won't let you do this," Centurion said. He was one of the greatest superheroes on Earth. Apollonius had even heard of him. The kingdom of the gods paid attention to the realms of men, but this was pathetic compared to a god. Apollonius laughed. "You want to challenge me, Centurion?" He created a ball of sunlight so powerful that it would blind everyone within a 10-mile radius. Centurion shielded his eyes and grit his teeth. "If you've been cast out to Earth, you need to play by our rules," Centurion said. He grit his teeth, floating above the ground. Apollonius would teach him a lesson. He would teach him the brightness of the sun. He flew up, drew upon the sunlight, and shot a giant beam of sunlight towards Centurion, but Centurion was faster. He juked out of the way, suddenly out of the range of the sunlight, which ripped through a building. "Do you see what you're doing?" Centurion said. "There were people in there!" Apollonius laughed. "Humans are like ants to me, but Centurion screamed in rage. He punched Apollonius in the face, up high above the city. Apollonius couldn't believe that he could even be moved, let alone punched above the city. He whirled around looking for Centurion when Centurion grabbed him by the neck and flew him far outside the city. "You dare do this?" Apollonius said. He burned brighter and brighter and brighter, but Centurion kept pushing him away from the people. Apollonius turned on all of his sunlight powers, but he couldn't feel the well that was normally there. Something about being outside the realm of the gods. He was losing strength faster. He would have to teach this whelp a lesson right now. He burned his hands with fire and put his hands on the Centurion's face. Centurion dropped Apollonius into the ocean, screaming, covering his face with burns. "See what happens when you challenge a god," Apollonius said, floating above the ocean. They were far outside the city now. Centurion had managed to get him away from the people. No matter. Apollonius would teach the people of this realm to worship him as he had been worshipped in the realm of the gods. And then he would lead an army up to the realm of the gods and punish Lunas and all the other betrayers that had ever thought he wouldn't be their king. Centurion removed his hands from his face, showing burns. "You burn my unbreakable skin," Centurion said. But he did something that Apollonius didn't expect. He smiled. "I've never killed a god before," Centurion said. Apollonius only had a second to react before Centurion punched him through the stomach over and over again. The pain of being alive, being mortal, was suddenly too much. Apollonius doubled over in pain, dropping towards the ocean. He burned brighter and brighter, trying to right himself, when Centurion pushed him down towards the ocean. "Can't set on fire if you're underwater," Centurion said. "Right?" Apollonius screamed in pain, turning around and conjuring a bolt of sunlight, throwing it up towards Centurion, but Centurion managed to push him under the water at the last minute. Apollonius couldn't breathe. The sun, it was so far away, and Centurion was pushing him deeper and deeper into the ocean, the dark part of the ocean, where there was no sunlight. The sun from Apollonius' skin was no longer glowing, slowly bleeding out under the ocean. Was this the end of Apollonius? Would he die without ever reaching his revenge? He screamed in pain. He glowed so bright that he started evaporating the ocean water around him, creating a pocket of toxic air, just enough for Centurion's eyes to widen before Apollonius blasted him in the chest with fire and flew up out of the ocean towards the sky. The sunlight rejuvenated him, and he felt ready for another fight, as Centurion, battered and broken, flew into the sky to face him. "You still fight?" Apollonius said. "You have fought well, human. You will be my first soldier as I take over this world." He created another mini-sun, ready to blast Centurion, but Centurion managed to face him, looking him right in the eyes. "You seriously think that I would work for you? I don't care if you're stronger than me," Centurion said. Apollonius blasted fire, but Centurion was faster. He broke Apollonius' elbow, making the shot go wild, and Centurion grabbed Apollonius by the neck, holding him high above the ocean. He felt Centurion's super strong fingers press into his neck, and Centurion's eyes glowed. "I've got all of humanity on my side to fight for. The gods cast you out. Who are you fighting for?" Apollonius felt it, the black clutch of doubt around his heart. But it was too late. Centurion punched him down again towards the ocean, and this time Apollonius fell down towards the ocean. He could fly, he could generate more sun, he could rule over this world, but how would he rule over this world? Who would he be a god of? People that feared him? People that conspired to betray him, just as Lunas did? Is that really all Apollonius could ever do? When he hit the water, Apollonius felt it, the reason behind why he was betrayed. He was never truly loved. He was feared. He felt his sunlight start to go out. He could fight, but he no longer wanted to. He sunk deeper and deeper into the ocean. Maybe this was the end for Apollonius. Maybe this was... Centurion pulled Apollonius out of the water, flying him towards the surface. "I'm taking you where you won't hurt anybody," Centurion said. "Why are you helping me?" Apollonius said. Centurion shook his head. "Because that's what heroes do. You were going to let your flame extinguish. You had no care for anybody except yourself. You would just die down there if it wasn't for me. I couldn't let that happen. I have to save all life that I see." Centurion shook his head. His face was still burned. "Even if it's someone who hates humanity as much as you." They put him in a facility that drained his sunlight. He was drained so thoroughly that the flames on his body that were normally there were completely absent, revealing his golden skin. Centurion visited him every single day, brought him books, told him about humanity. Apollonius always viewed humanity as unchanging, selfish, endlessly weak. But over time, Centurion proved to him that it was the human's belief in him that made him special. After years, Apollonius felt the guilt. "How many did I kill that day?" Apollonius said. 270, Centurion said. "It would have been a lot worse if I hadn't gotten you out of the city." He smiled a bit. "But don't worry." "Why?" Apollonius said, feeling the guilt of all the lives he took away. "Because you're going to save a lot more," Centurion said. "Trust me." Apollonius felt his strength return in the middle of the night. He opened his eyes. The power that normally drained him from the cell was not working. He heard screams from outside. Prison break. All the most powerful supervillains were escaping the prison Centurion had for them. If Apollonius had almost fought Centurion to a standstill, what chance would he have against all the villains? He felt it. He could go back to the realm of the gods, even rule over humanity and raise the army that he wanted. "No," Apollonius said. He closed his fist. He opened the door and saw the villains. He created a giant sun in the sky and pointed at all the villains, glowing with superpowered energy. "You will get back in your cells, or you will face the wrath of the sun god," Apollonius said. The supervillains looked at one another, and they laughed. "Fine," Apollonius said. "Bring it on." They came at him with everything they had. Creatures made of darkness, supervillains that could move faster than the speed of light, giant monsters that could rip buildings apart with their bare hands. Apollonius defeated them all in the prison hallway, one by one by one, drawing on the sun energy, but motivated, stronger, faster, because he was fighting for something, fighting for the same thing Centurion was fighting for, fighting to keep these villains locked up, to keep humanity safe. Maybe one day I'll deserve them, Apollonius said to himself, standing over the bodies of the villains. Centurion broke into the prison and he saw Apollonius standing over all the villains. He smiled. I figured I might find you here. Apollonius nodded and walked dutifully into his cell. You can close the door now, Apollonius said. Centurion looked into the cell and shook his head. No, I don't think so. We need your help. It was a controversial move as the crowd saw Apollonius take the stage. Centurion waved at everyone. Everyone loved him, but suddenly he was hated. Apollonius is no longer the evil sun god, Centurion said. We as humanity can no longer afford to let superpowered threats that are reformed stay in prison. The crowd jeered. They booed. They hate me, Apollonius said. It's okay, Centurion said. He looked out to the crowd and raised his fist. From thenceforth, Apollonius will be known as Sunset Man, and he will fight every single day to protect humanity. He smiled, turning towards Apollonius, and nodded. Tell them. Apollonius looked out at the crowd. He knew how he would address them in the realm of the gods. He would command fear, respect, project an image of strength. But looking out at the people that hated him, looking out at the people that were ready to boo and jeer and hiss at a moment's notice, Apollonius felt tears run down his face. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Apollonius said. Centurion was surprised to see, but Apollonius kept speaking. Those lives I took, I will never be able to forgive them, but he looked down at the ground. I hope one day to protect human life to the best of my ability. I am no longer a god. I am your servant. I am a servant of human life, Apollonius said. He remembered the feeling of Centurion fighting against him, even though he knew he would lose, because he had the power of human life behind him, and he felt Centurion's trust in him, even now, in this moment. I will do my best, Apollonius said, and he put his head down in shame. But to his surprise, he heard the crowd cheer. He opened them, seeing them cheering for him, clapping out of respect, and he knew, finally, after all these centuries, he had a second chance to be a new person.